Now, SABC News correspondent Patrick Falk joins us now out in Beijing. Of course, not so long ago, we just heard the latest report when it comes to Wuhan and just how the market out in Wuhan particularly didn't necessarily get the latest when it comes to the update on where exactly the virus had come from, how it entered the market, what exactly is the latest. Let's chat to Patrick Falk now. Patrick, it doesn't seem like the visit to the city of Wuhan yielded any positive results.
Well, it depends on which way you look at it, but I think it's fair to say that this mission was always going to throw up more questions than answers. But importantly, today the press briefing was really the first time that we've had a chance to get a better understanding of what the findings and discoveries that the team have been over the past few weeks that they have been there. To summarize, really, the key points that Peter Ben Emberek talked about was that they really focused on four particular hypotheses. One, that the virus may have jumped directly from an animal to a human. Two, that there may have been some sort of intermediary. Three, that the virus may have entered into human populations via cold food supply chains, and finally the possibility of a lab leak. And I think one of the headlines perhaps is that they have ruled out the likelihood that the virus could have leaked from the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Why, for the time being, we don't know. We'll have to see their analysis more fully before we can understand that. But also he said that the most likely theory is that the virus entered into human populations via some sort of intermediary. What that intermediary is right now, we simply don't know. But it does seem as though this is the first step, and there is a lot more research to be done on this.
Patrick, is there any perhaps sense or notion then from, world officials at this point with regards to some sort of disgruntlement or perhaps questions that were laid then to the team from the World Health Organization with regards to what exactly happened from here and perhaps how to prevent future occurrences of anything of this kind? Have Chinese officials even offered some sort of help with regards to that?
Well, there were several recommendations made, including expanding databases on a global level so that their sort of ability to further analyze information is improved. But really, there are still going to be a lot of questions about, the origins of the virus, and it may never be possible to find those origins. One of the things that some people may have found slightly strange, perhaps, is that this press briefing started very late. It was meant to start at about 3:30 local time here, but didn't start until after 5 o'clock, really. And so some people may be asking, what discussions were going on behind the scenes. And also, it did seem very much as though the Chinese side, the experts from the Chinese side, were leading the discussion, leading the press briefing, when I think it's fair to say that most people, the international community, might have wanted to hear more from the WHO team members. There were only 2 WHO team members at the press briefing. That's not to discredit what the Chinese scientists had to say, but also there did seem to be quite a focus on saying that this was really the first step, and the research in China has been done now, and now the WHO needs to expand that, and also very much focusing on the possibility that the virus didn't originate in China. That's what a lot of people might have read from what the Chinese representatives had to say.
Yeah, and just, I suppose, very finally then, Patrick, just the notion is here perhaps that going to the origin of this virus will perhaps lead us to some sort of solution for future as well. Have we gotten a sense of what exactly could be done from here on in? I mean, are there more investigations said to be at play as well, or perhaps a little bit more collaboration with global authorities to try and ensure that this sort of pandemic doesn't necessarily come out of, whether it be China or anywhere else in the world for that matter?
Well, certainly there's some sort of suggestion that this is the first step, and they are going to be moving on here, and there's going to be more research done, and those recommendations, as I say, have been made. But it's still very hard to say whether or not it's going to be possible to prevent this from happening again in the future, because they simply haven't discovered at this time what the point of origin is, and we do seem quite far away from that at this time still. The Huanan wet market was obviously a point of focus for the team, where they suggested there was a possibility that the coronavirus was most closely linked to bats, but perhaps had crossed over into an intermediary and into wet markets from there. So I think perhaps there will be a focus on prevention in wet markets in particular, but that hasn't been outlined precisely. As I say, also the press briefing is still ongoing right now.
Patrick Falk there out in Beijing, China there for us, following of course the World Health Organization's visit to the city of Wuhan, just with regards to the inspection then of where exactly the COVID-19 virus stems from and what actually brought that about. Patrick, thank you so much for the time. Appreciate it then.